Christo has landed in London. Hello, welcome to the Art Channel. Today Joshua and myself will be looking at Christo's large intervention, Mastaba, on the lake, and also the accompanying exhibition in the Serpentine Gallery.
We're going to be focusing on this extraordinary intervention. Comprises 7,000 individual oil barrels to make this remarkable structure that towers over the park here. So who is Christo? Well, he was born in Bulgaria in 1935, and then he moved to Paris, and in Paris he met his wife and collaborator Jeanne-Claude. They worked together over 50 years on a number of very ambitious and grand projects, including wrapping the Reichstag in Berlin and also running flags across landscapes like Central Park in New York City. He's an artist who wants to create these interventions in public space on a very grand scale, to establish this spectacle, to explore the significance, the symbolism of them, but also perhaps to ask how they were made, because they are fantastic constructions that entail years of planning, design, and engineering. So the piece is called Mastaba, and that's borrowed from a Mesopotamian piece of furniture, an outdoor bench. So Mastaba refers back to ancient design.
These interventions land with us, they surprise us, they're here for a month or two, but Christo, and formerly his wife, Jeanne-Claude and Christo, spent many decades kind of negotiating, talking to local authorities, councils, governments to get these things done. These are outside for everybody to access. There's no tickets, there's no queues, there's no booking, you just come and you look. And I think Christo talks about really enjoying his interactions with ordinary people, with people who perhaps wouldn't visit galleries. He says he talks from everybody to rice farmers to politicians in the kind of making and planning of these objects. I think this is a really surprising piece of work, and in a way it doesn't matter whether you love it or hate it. It's here for 2 months. As long as we respond, we talk to each other, we discuss, we engage with contemporary art in our environment, that can only be a good thing.
And of course they are controversial, they are inherently intrusive, gargantuan, on this enormous scale that does disrupt the character of a place, and that is his intention, something that confronts you with its very physicality.
I think Christo and Jeanne-Claude don't really talk about politics in an overt fashion, but clearly putting something like this in the environment is a political act. It's made of oil barrels. It makes us think about our relationship to commerce, to capitalism, to ducks.
Of course, some people are upset. They claim that it steals light from the pond. Others, of course, welcome it as this remarkable sort of embrace of contemporary art.
There are often lots of projects on the go at the same time, and Christo and Jeanne-Claude have been planning an intervention in Abu Dhabi since the 1970s. It's going to be 50 times bigger than the piece behind us. So scale and context make all the difference. So I'm not sure about making work on that scale and the permanence of it being in the spirit of the interventions he's made in the past. It loses that light touch that these temporary interventions have. Whether they're beautiful or not, and I'm not sure they all are, they come and they go. That's the joy.
Part of the power of the Christo and Jeanne-Claude's work is that temporality, that short window when you can go and see it, and then of course the site will totally be returned to its original condition, and there'll only be a memory in photographs or in your mind.
Would you vote for that going ahead?
I think the scale of it is wrong for a natural environment, that it brings the city as an imposition into that natural desert landscape.
And I think what works is the myth and the memory and the conversations, and do you remember seeing that in so-and-so? And that's really about community debates and conversations and memories, isn't it? Once it's there forever, it's changed.
It's almost like overreaching, too ambitious. So we've moved inside from the lake into the Serpentine's retrospective of Christo's career, and we start with these early wrapped cans, and they are quite literally kind of household tins or cans, perhaps used for storing paint in. He says it's more than simply just wrapping the cans, but also covering them. So these are the early origins of that thought process that evolves towards using the large oil cans.
I think these are interesting because they are not modular objects, are they? They're not something that come together in their thousands to make a piece of art. They operate in singly or twos, threes, fours, and you know this wrapping is a lifelong, career-long obsession. He even wrapped, I think, a portrait of his wife. So these are they operate in a very different way, and they come out of that kind of 50s, 60s idea of using non-art materials. Of, again, getting us to look at the ordinary, the everyday, and to see beauty in what we use, what surrounds us. So is this successful? Does this work as a piece of contemporary art?
I think on its own terms it does indeed. Of course, Christo is really pushing sculpture into a whole new kind of expanded field. The ambition of the work is extraordinary. It is like something out of the ancient world, like a marker, a destination to come and admire.
I think that's interesting, your use of the word destination. He talks about not being a sculptor, not being a painter. This is not environmental art, it's not land art, it is made out of barrels after all. And I don't know whether I think it's ugly or beautiful. I think it's possibly both, and I think that's a really good thing. And when it's gone, I will miss it. And I think the kind of myth and the story and the memory that builds up around these things is really interesting because none of them last. And that's a clever kind of intervention.
It's a different form of public art, isn't it? Because it's not like, for example, the Diana Memorial Fountain that's intended to be in perpetuity. It's a sort of brief moment that sort of brings people coalescing around it. And I lived in London all my life for many years, and I've never seen a public sculpture really that compares to it. And I welcome that. I think it's exciting. It shows that actually we're more willing to exhibit contemporary art in a way that really sort of disrupts the sort of norms of life in the city.
We hope you engage with Christo and Jeanne-Claude because they've definitely changed what public art can be. It's free, it's accessible, it's temporary, and the things they have made are stunning.
Thank you for watching this film on the Art Channel.
You can follow us on social media, on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook.